Hello, and welcome to the Wellness Rock Show with your host, Stephanie Deal, where we dive deep into women's health mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and financially. Together, we will discover through these 5 pillars how God designed our bodies to consume proper nutrition and how that applies to creating optimal wealth in our lives. Here we will unravel all of the education and expertise that you need to get your body, mind, and soul in alignment with where it needs to be. As a disclaimer, I am not a doctor and I do not provide medical advice. Please speak to your primary physician before starting or stopping any medications. What is up, you guys? I am so happy for you all to be tuning in today. I hope you guys have all had an amazing week since our last episode aired. And if you haven't checked out our last episode, it was all about journaling and really how that can go alongside everything in your life so that you can really journal about what you want to create in your life. So if you haven't checked out that episode, definitely go back and listen to that episode after this episode. But today we're really going to talk about budgeting, saving, managing expenses, giving, tithing, how it all goes together and how managing your expenses will set you up for success later on in life. This is something that I have not always been the greatest at, but have gotten better at over the years. And, I used to be really good at saving, when I didn't have 95 bills coming out of my account every single month. But that's really what happens as you get older. I feel like you just accumulate more and more bills. And once you become an adult and move out and graduate college, everything is just kind of on you and you never get to go back. So yay, adulting, we love it. Sometimes we love it. Sometimes we absolutely hate it. But I'm so happy for you guys to be here today, and we're really going to jump into it. So what is budgeting? Budgeting is a plan that you write down to decide how you will spend your money each month. So at the beginning of the month or at the end of the previous month, do you know what your specific expenses are? If you don't, first, I really recommend going and writing down all of your expenses. Maybe look at your bank statement from the previous month if you can't remember everything that you bought and see what came out on what date. Then you can have an idea of, your automatic bills, what bills are coming out at each time. And then you can also have an idea of how much you're spending each month. So, some of your expenses are going to be a range, kind of like groceries. Groceries is kind of like a range. How much are you buying groceries weekly? Are you buying groceries bi-weekly? Are you buying groceries monthly? What does that look like? Also, gas. Gas is kind of those ones that can range. So, are you getting gas weekly? How much are you spending on gas? Then you can have an average or range for the month, but your specific bills, like your car payment, your phone payment, life insurance, any credit card bills that you have that come out, rent or a mortgage, these are all expenses that are fixed. So that means that they're the same every single month, and you know that they're coming out on a specific date, time, all of that. So definitely go through your month, figure out your expenses so that way you know everything that has to come out. That way you can also know how much you can spend on extra food, like going out with friends, if you have you get your hair done or your nails done, those can also be factored into your expenses as well if that is a must need thing for you. Or if it's just if it's a necessary thing that you must do every week or every month, definitely add that into your expenses. If it's one of those things like myself, that if you have extra money or if you want to do it for yourself, you kind of do it. That's kind of how I do my hair, my nails, stuff like that. But some people get their nails done every single month, get their hair done every 6 weeks. I'm just not like that. That's not me. But if you are, that's great. And factor that into your expenses so that you know what you're spending each month as well. And then also factor in, okay, I'm going out with my friends 3 times this month. I'm going to spend this amount, and have a budget for yourself so that you go in with intentionality of, I'm not going to go to this dinner and spend $500. I'm going to go to this dinner and spend $100 because maybe I'm planning for a trip at the end of the month or something like that. So just figure out what all your expenses are. Figure out when your bills are coming out so that you know when your expenses are going to be coming out, and so you know that what your expenses are each month. and then start planning in that way. So once you know your expenses, you can then budget and figure out like, okay, this is how much I want to save this month. This is how much I want to invest this month. This is how much I want to give this month. And then this is how much is coming out. Do I have anything left over? What can I do with that? And then know like, okay, this is what I'm bringing in this month. This is what my expenses are this month. What is left over? Where can I put that excess money? And what do I want to do with that? So we get into our next thing, which is like, why is it important to save? Well, it's really important to save because, one, if you're really like consciously like putting that money away for a trip or a house or a car or whatever it is that you want, a Gucci bag, like whatever it is, you're going to feel so much better when you put that money aside and accomplish that goal. Like you're like, oh my gosh, I want to save $10,000. You hit that $10,000 mark. You can go on that trip to Italy. Like that is going to feel so good, and you're going to feel really accomplished. And that's like a monumental moment in your life. Like, okay, I saved $10,000 for this Italy trip. Now I get to go to Italy. Now I don't have to worry about anything. I can go have fun, whatever. It's also important so that you can save for the important things in your life, like a house. If you don't have a plan, like how are you going to get there? So it's important to have a plan, to know how you're going to get from point A to point B, just like we talk about with your goals. How are you going to be successful in your business if you don't have a plan? How are you going to save for a house if you don't have a plan? How are you going to go on a trip to Disney World if you don't have a plan? So it's important to, backstep, budget, expenses, how much are you saving? So really going back to those expenses, knowing how much is coming out each month, and knowing how much you want to be putting away each month as well. So you can figure out your expenses and then figure out, okay, this is how much I want to save each month. Make sure that you're putting that away first so that, let's say you go out with the girls, you're not dipping into that saving account for your house, but you already have that money away for that saving for the month. And you can feel good about going out with your girls knowing that your money is still being saved for that month going towards whatever you want to accomplish. So that's really that all is super, super important. It's also important to, kind of categorize where you're, how much you're putting away. So this is for my people who are still living at home who listen to this. What I did when I lived at home, because I did not have as many bills as I do now, each time that I would get paid, I would put 50% of my paycheck in my savings account. And I feel like that is completely doable for anyone who is still living at home, because you're not, you don't have that rent. You don't have rent. You don't have whatever other payments it may be, like utilities. You're not paying for laundry. Maybe you're paying for groceries. Maybe you're not. But those are all excess bills that come when you live on your own. So it changes a little bit. But if you're able to, with still living at home, highly recommend saving 50% of your paycheck. That's how I bought my first car. I literally put 50% of my money away every single time I got paid. And then I was able to save up a good chunk of change, buy a car, studied abroad in London. I was able to do these things because I was able to put money aside, save money, and put it all towards those things. So yes, that is all super important. And then it comes to how much do you want to give each month? Because when you give, you can't give with the intention of, okay, I'm going to give this person $100 and I have to get $100 back. You can give and know that, okay, I'm giving to charity this month. I know it's going to be returned to me in some way, whether that is a friend or a phone call or a mentor or something. That's just how the world works. You do good, you get good. You do bad, you get bad. So when you give, you give because you want to give from your heart, not giving because you know you're going to get something in return. That's not actually giving. That's wanting something in return. So when you give from your heart, you know that is going to be returned, but that's not why you're giving. If that makes sense. I hope that all makes sense to you guys. But know how much you are giving each month. So that really comes to, in my sense, like, how much am I tithing each month, or how much am I tithing each week? For those of you who don't know what a tithe is, it's giving 10% of your income back to the Lord, pretty much, because that you wouldn't have it if it wasn't for Him, and you wouldn't have what is in your life if it wasn't for God putting you in those situations, putting you around those people, giving you the vision. Like, it's all because of God. So let's give back to God. And sometimes I tithe to my church, or if I know someone who I am close with, or even someone that I'm not close with, is going through something or needs extra money, whatever it may be, I may tithe to that person instead. This past week, one of my friends was explaining her situation, and I pray for her all the time. And when she told me that situation, I was going to do my tithe that day to my church, and I just prayed about it, and I felt like I should give my tithe to her. So I did, and she was very appreciative, and I love doing that stuff because I know that she needed it in that moment, and I'm so happy to be able to give it and to be able to have the funds to give it because of knowing my expenses, knowing how much is coming out, knowing what I'm saving each month, and then being able to also give and tithe and all of that as well. So that's really what I wanted to hit on this week. And my episodes have been short, and I'm loving it. You guys are loving it. So I want to keep them short and sweet for you guys. And just make sure that this is something that you are doing, because this is not just benefiting you right now, but this can benefit you for years and years to come, because you're building these habits now, and you are having an idea of what you are saving and what's coming out, and you're just able to adjust that as you add more bills on or as you make more money. So if you need a budget tracker or anything like that, just reach out to me. I have a really good one that I purchased a while ago, so that I can always share with you guys. Just let me know if you need that. The Bible verses that we're going to hit on today, there's 2 of them. So I'm going to read both of them first, and then I will kind of explain what they mean and how you can apply them to your lives, or what you can really think about them. So the first one is Matthew 6:24 through 26. No one can serve 2 masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. For the other one is a little bit longer, but I'm going to read it because I feel like it's very, very important. So this is Matthew 25:14 through 21. Again, the kingdom of heaven can be illustrated by the story of man going on a long trip. He called together his servants and entrusted his money to them while he was gone. He gave 5 bags of silver to one, 2 bags of silver to another, and 1 bag of silver to the last, dividing it in proportion to their abilities. Then he left on his trip. The servant who received 5 bags of silver began to invest the money and earned 5 more. The servant with 2 bags of silver also went to work and earned 2 more. But the servant who received the 1 bag of silver dug a hole in the ground and hid the master's money. After a long time, their master returned from his trip and called them to give an account of how they were going to use his money. The servant to whom had entrusted the 5 bags of silver came forward with 5 more and said, Master, you have gave me 5 bags of silver to invest, and I have earned 5 more. The master was full of praise. Well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling this small amount, so now I will give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together. And there's more that goes to that story. The guy who had 2 bags invested the 2 bags, and he earned more, and he was given more. The guy who buried the money, he did that because he wanted to protect his money, and he didn't earn anything extra. So therefore, God did not give him anything extra. So we'll hit on this one first, and then we'll go back to the one that I talked about in the first place. But this one it's really important to understand this in our lives. So in terms of us, let's say, in terms of me having a business, if God is going to trust me with the 30 customers who come through my door, that is a certain amount of money that is walking through my door every single day. Not that my customers are money, but